This NFL Week 9 Monday Night Football betting picks edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/SGPN and use code SGPN for a first deposit match up to $100. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. Plus, the MMA Gambling Podcast just launched their YouTube channel. To celebrate, we're giving away a MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie for all the details. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Saturday, early morning on the West Coast, currently 11:33 on the East Coast, here to get into the NFL Week 9 Monday Night Football game between the Los Angeles Chargers and the New York Jets. And joining me here to help me break it all down, you guys know him as a voice, of course, here on the NFL Gambling Podcast, the MLB Gambling Podcast, and the NBA Gambling Podcast. It's Lonte Smith. Lonte, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Daylight savings time, so we get to catch that Kansas City Miami game with a little extra hour of sleep. So excited about that. But yeah, man, looking forward to breaking this game down. Really not much intrigue going in. I think we had some solid ones for the past 3 weeks, maybe, if not just matchup wise, just like some things that were going on with teams. But yeah, it's still in time to make some money, so looking to do that here.
Yeah, man. Again, it's we're about halfway through the season already for the football regular season, so there's still obviously a lot to still play for. I mean, this is the time of year where I think we start seeing the separation between the contenders and the pretenders for the obviously the Super Bowl, which will be in Vegas this year. But I don't know, Malante, I don't know about you, man, but some of these primetime games have been kind of lackluster for me. I don't know how you feel.
I would
about
say
it.
all of them, besides maybe what was the best. I'm trying to think of the best primetime game that we got. Thursday was like the game was trash, but at least it was competitive.
Yeah.
With the Steelers and the Titans.
Yeah.
I guess the Dolphins and Eagles, but it wasn't good to watch. But I mean, I guess it was competitive until Philly pulled away. But
yeah,
it has. I mean, honestly, to me, it's been like a lackluster season for the NFL as a whole, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're a fan of points being scored, that hasn't come into fruition this season. It's been, I think, 60% towards the under so far this season. So we'll see, man. I don't know if you're a fan of touchdowns being scored and points being scored. It just hasn't been that season. But Sunday Night Football has a pretty good matchup. That's going to be the definitely. Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. So one of the more exciting matchups in the AFC. But we got New York Jets. They are hosting the Chargers, and let's just dive right into it, man. So currently, as it stands right now, the Chargers are a 3.5-point road favorite. They head to MetLife Stadium and take on the Jets. Currently, the records for both of these teams. Let me pull that up here. Just went blank on my screen. So the Chargers currently sitting at, where are you, Chargers? Chargers 3-4 on the season. They're 1-2 on the road. Jets after what transpired for this team week one after losing Aaron Rodgers have been, holding steady. The boat has been a little rocky, but they've been able to have a winning record through their first 7 games. They're sitting at 4-3. They're 2-2 at home thus far this season. And let's get to the injury report here for both of these teams. I'll start here with the visiting team, the Los Angeles Chargers. So on their injury report currently, I'm seeing Eric Kendricks, linebacker. He's dealing with a ribs issue. Was a limited participant at practice on Friday. Kenneth Murray Jr., linebacker, also was dealing with a shoulder injury. Was a limited participant during practice on Friday as well. Joshua Palmer, wide receiver, knee did not practice on Friday, so something to keep an eye out for Joshua Palmer in this game. Let's get over to the New York Jets injury report. And looking at their injury report, we have Xavier Gibson, wide receiver, questionable. He's dealing with an ankle injury. He remained limited in practice on Friday. Other than that, they also do get Dwayne Brown back, offensive tackle. They designated to return from injured reserve on Thursday. So we'll see if Dwayne Brown is able to play in this game or not for the New York Jets. And Lonte, like I mentioned, the Los Angeles Chargers have struggled on the road thus far this season, and 1-2 record on the road, and the only lone victory that they had this season against on the road this season, I should say, was against the Minnesota Vikings back in Week 3. They lost in overtime to Tennessee. In Tennessee, they took an L Week 7 to the Kansas City Chiefs, and like I mentioned, this New York Jets team has been doing pretty well considering the circumstances at the quarterback position. I know a lot of people aren't fans of Zach Wilson, but again, this is a team that has been doing well on the defensive side. I know they're not the big, sexy team, but they've been getting it done by playing great defense thus far this season. So let's start with the side here. -3.5 in favor of the Chargers. What are you thinking about the spread?
Yeah, I like the Chargers here. I like it better on the open and look ahead. I think it was 1.5 for the Chargers. Excuse me, on the look ahead. But yeah, I like the Chargers here. I simply just don't believe in the Jets offensively. I mean, that's not, I'm not, finding a cure for cancer and saying that, but I just the Jets defense is elite. I think it really is elite. But again, I think the Chargers got something going against the Bears. I know it's the Bears, but they look fluent offensively. You saw Eckler get going in the ground game and in the passing game, which I think adds another element to that offense. I also think Josh Kelly is running the ball pretty well, so that gives him a two-headed monster in the backfield. I do want to see some of the receivers kind of emerge to help out Keenan Allen. So I'm looking for Quentin Johnston, Palmer, and some of those guys to step up in the place of Mike Williams. They've been fine, since he's been gone, but I mean, Herbert hasn't been good the past. He was good against Chicago, but the prior 2 games before that, I can probably make a debate that he lost them the Cowboys game because he was missing Keenan Allen on like 2 touchdown passes, overthrowing guys, dirt and balls whenever he wasn't supposed to. I think he threw an interception to end the game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did.
For Dallas. Yeah, so I think Herbert has to be better. It won't be a tall task. I mean, it won't be an easy task here for him and the offense. The run game, I think, will be stymied a little bit because the Jets are so good up front. But I do think they have kind of an edge in the secondary. I think Herbert can be able to get out on the edge. I'm assuming that Sauce is going to be shadowing Keenan Allen. So that's why I wanted to see those other guys step up. Quentin Johnson had a decent second half. He was shut out in the first half, but he came alive in the second half against the Bears. That was, promising to see. I just think the added dimension of Eckler gives him something else to lean on rather than just, Herbert dropping back 50 times a game. And if they can just keep the run game going with Eckler and Kelly, I think they'll be able to find their shots in the secondary. I do think that the Jets' offense is so bad they can't exploit the weakness of the Chargers, which is the secondary. The Chargers secondary is by far the weakest link of this, of their team. So do we trust Zach Wilson to go out and throw for 300? I don't. I mean, so I like the Chargers here. I would say more so the offense will dictate more the pace and the pass rush for the Chargers will be able to get home on Zach Wilson. So I like the Chargers here big. I would look at something about 27-10.
You're a bold man for laying points with Chargers on the road.
Yeah, man.
I
Yeah.
I can't get there with the Chargers, man. Again, I think we've talked about this for multiple seasons with this Chargers team that they have all the talent in the world. I think Justin Herbert it has the I want to say the ability and the arsenal to be a definite top 5 quarterback. And I'm not saying that he's not right now, but I think there's still another level for Justin Herbert to get through. And I'm not sure if it's the play calling, if it's Brandon Staley, whatever the case might be, but I expect Justin Herbert to be a quarterback that's an automatic minimum 4,000 passing yard quarterback, a minimum of 30 to 35 touchdowns every single season because he has that potential. We saw what he did in his rookie year for the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think it's right now maybe more of a Brandon Staley problem for this Los Angeles Chargers team. But right now, I cannot lay points with the Chargers on the road, no matter how bad the Jets have been.
Yeah,
And again, like we mentioned, they've been pretty good thus far this season. Um, have the Jets, especially without Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, you take a look at what the Jets have been able to do. Obviously, the Week 1 victory at home and against the Bills. I'm not going to put too much stock into it. They lost to the Cowboys by 20, lost to the Patriots by 5. They lost to the Chiefs by 3 points. So they've been competitive in their home games. And we know that Bill Belichick historically has done very well against his Jets team and Zach Wilson, right? They beat and then they went they're on a 3-game winning streak here. They went out and beat the Broncos by 10. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Giants. So I like the direction this team is trending in right now. And despite how bad people think that Zach Wilson has been playing, his numbers have not been too bad. I know we'll talk about player props here in a minute or so, but I think that for Zach Wilson, as he gets more and more reps under his belt, I think that the possibility for him is he's only going to get better. And I'm not saying that he is a starting quarterback in this league. I think that eventually he will probably turn into a backup quarterback. But for right now, I've liked what I've seen from Zach Wilson. Again, over the last 5 games, he's only thrown 1 interception. I know the touchdowns haven't been there for him, but I think for this Jets team, you're right that I think the key is going to be on the shoulder of Zach Wilson here. It's bold for me to put that faith in Zach Wilson after
it's
what's
bold either
transpired.
way. It's bold either
Yeah.
way. Either
So
side.
I think that I'm gonna take the points here, plus 3.5 with the Jets here at home on Monday Night Football. Lonte, before we do get over to the total and some player props in this game, let me tell everyone about Prize Picks. With basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. So, if you want to get down on LeBron James 3-point shots made and you want to combine that with Travis Kelce's receptions, you can do that over on Prize Picks. And if you want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, you can now find community plays under the promos tab on the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So for football and basketball games, if you have a player who exited the game in the first half and they don't return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. So how do we take advantage of this and play on PrizePicks? It's simple. Go to prizepicks.com/SGPN and make sure to use that promo code SGPN for your first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/SGPN using code SGPN. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. And stay tuned. Towards the end of the episode, we'll put together a prize pick entry for the Monday Night Football game. I know myself and McKee on Thursday for the basketball games, we went 2 for 2. I know we had Zion in there, but Zion sat out on Thursday. And then myself and Scott, we went 3 for 3 yesterday. So hopefully we can continue that for the Monday Night Football game. So stay tuned for that. Again, go to prizepicks.com/SGPN and make sure to use that promo code SGPN for your first deposit match up to $100. Again, prizepicks.com, code SGPN. And also, the MMA Gambling Podcast just launched their YouTube channel. In honor, we're giving away an MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie to one lucky winner. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie. Submit your entry today and make sure to subscribe to the MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. All right, Lonte, let's get into into the total here, a low total this week for this game, a total of 40 as it stands right now, currently over on DraftKings. You have any thoughts on the total here?
Not really. I lean to the under. My score was 27-10, so I guess it's 37. I mean, I don't. If the Jets are going to have some success, I mean, they're gonna have to throw the ball. I think the Chargers front will pretty much load the box, force Zach Wilson to beat them, which is pretty much a logical decision to make. I think Khalil Mack, Bosa, and those guys will be able to get to Zach Wilson. I don't think the offensive line of the Jets is strong enough to hold up for Zach Wilson to drop back 30, 35 times. I don't even think that Jets fans want him to drop back 30 to 35 times to try to throw the ball. But again, I mean, that's the Chargers' weakness. I don't know if Hackett's going to try to exploit that, if he's going to play, similar to what he's been playing, just not turn the ball over, maybe try to get in field goal range, pick up some penalties, because that's all it was last game against the Giants. I mean, they marched down the field. They had, I think, 2 pass interference calls. They had a defensive hands to the face call. So they pretty much penaltied their way down the field. Zach Wilson, I think, made 1 throw, and Garrett Wilson did the rest. So, yeah, I think he's going to try to play a low-scoring game because the Chargers are going to try to get out and throw the ball all over the yard as well. And I do think, again, like Eckler being back just allows them to open up the offense, allows Kellen Moore to open up the offense even more. But I lean to the under. If I had to make a play on like a total, I'll probably go Chargers team total over versus the full game under.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the under in this game, and I think that if the Jets do cover this number, I think it's correlation here that it stays under the total. I mean, you think it's going to go under as well, the 27-10 score that you're thinking, and I think that if they do cover this number, I think the Chargers can win the game, but probably by a field goal. I'm looking at something like 20-17 or something in that range.
You think the Jets can score 17? That's bold.
I mean, against this Chargers team, I mean, look, over the past couple of weeks, they've been able to put up some points. They put 20 against the Eagles. They got 31 against the Broncos, 20 against the Chiefs. So 22 in week 1. So, they've been able to put up some points. And I think, again, the secondary, the pass defense, especially for the Chargers, has been one of the worst in the entire league. So, we kind of take a look at the numbers. Opponent passing yards per game, the Chargers are allowing the most. And I know it's Zach Wilson. I know. But again, I think that's kind of telling how bad the secondary has been for the LA Chargers this season. Also looking at opponent yards per pass attempt for the Chargers, again, they rank dead last in that as well. So, I think that they're going to have to get a little bit creative on the offensive side of the football, maybe some screen passes, getting Garrett Wilson in some open spots here and able to, let him get the yak. But I think there's an opportunity here for Zach Wilson to have some type of success against his Chargers pass defense. And again, when you talk about these two teams, it's almost like picking your poison. So, I won't be surprised if this game, ends up in a 7-point victory by the Chargers, or it's an outright win for the Jets. I think honestly, this can go either way in this game.
Yeah,
but again, me and Lonte at least going head to head in this game here as far as the side. Lonte, let's get over to some player props in this game, man. What are you looking at for as far as player props?
One of my favorite props in this game, man, is going to be Zach Wilson over 13.5 rushing yards. He's went over this number in 4 straight games. He had 4 rush attempts in 2 of those games. Let me make sure that it's still 13.5.
Here, I got you. Let's see, NFL rushing yards for
just so
Zach
we're not giving out a
Wilson.
stale number or anything.
Yeah. Let's see here. He is still 13.5 on DraftKings, -110.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, he's gonna have to run the ball to keep the chains moving on third down specifically. The Chargers are probably gonna have to try to keep the Jets in third and medium, third and long, so it's not really a run situation for them because they are effective running the ball. It's just gonna be in their best interest if they try to keep him behind the chains to force Zach Wilson to drop back and throw and make a decision versus 3rd and 3, anything goes. And I think Zach Wilson will be able to use his legs on some of those conversions. I also like Justin Herbert over 1.5 touchdowns. That's at plus money. He's had 2+ in 3 in 4 of his last 6 games. So I do think the Chargers will be able to score through the air here. Maybe not, to the deep ball per se, but short stuff to Keenan Allen, dropping it off to Eckler, over the middle with the tight end Everett. So I think Herbert has a good game here as well. So I'm going over 1.5 touchdowns. That's at plus money. The last time I looked, it was at plus money. I think 105, 106 ish. So you can get plus money there, and then minus 110, 13.5 for Zach Wilson to go over.
Yeah, I like the Zach Wilson call in this game. Again, I think the success on this offense is going to be on the shoulders of Zach Wilson. I was also looking at some Zach Wilson props here, and so on the season thus far, we talked about how bad the pass defense has been for the LA Chargers. So they're giving up an average of 26 completions per game. Every single quarterback that they have faced this season has had at least 20 completions thus far this season. Tua, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and then last week even Tyler Bagnett, or I don't know how to say his name, had 25 against the Chargers. Right now, that number is at 18.5 for Zach Wilson, and I know he's been hovering around this number over the course of the season when he has started the games for the New York Jets. But I think, again, like I mentioned, this is all going to be on the shoulders of Zach Wilson. If he doesn't make any mistakes in this game, the Jets can stay within this number and possibly win outright. So last week he had 17 completions against the Jets. Prior to that, 2 straight weeks with 19 completions, 28 against the Kansas City Chiefs. They had 18 against the New England Patriots. And also the attempts have been there for him as well. So and for the last 5 weeks, he's had at least 33 pass attempts for this Jets offense. And that maybe kind of tells you that they've probably been playing from behind in a lot of those games where they're forced to throw the football. So if the script is that, hey, maybe the Chargers are up by a touchdown and they're not going to have any success on the ground here because Chargers, as bad as they are on the through the air, Lonte, they've been really good as far as their rush defense has been playing this season. So
yeah.
I don't hate the Zach Wilson pass attempts in this game either. I know I was looking at that number earlier. I think it was at 31.5, but let me double check here. I don't mind giving
For
out
Wilson pass attempts. For pass
attempts. Yeah.
attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah, 31
Yeah, I
and a
say
half.
31.5 minus 1.
Yeah, it's reduced to 105, 106.
Yeah, so I like that as well. I'll give out the Zach Wilson props for him in this game. Anything else you're looking at as far as player props?
No, not really. I just think that it's like you said. I think this game can go either way. Even though I do like the Chargers, I can see a world where the Chargers come and play like they did, against the Cowboys in the second half. Where I don't think they scored a point in the second half against the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys and Jets defense are kind of comparable. I mean, it would be better if Trayvon Diggs was in for the Cowboys, but I do think that the Chargers had success against the Cowboys. But again, you kind of got to think, Kellen Moore, familiar with the system, kind of knows tendencies, so he can kind of get away with some of the stuff. But he got blanked in the second half, so I can see a world where it's a wide range of outcomes here. So I wouldn't be surprised with anything like you mentioned earlier. A Chargers 7-point win. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets went outright. But I do like those two props. I like the one that you brought up as well. I will get into the touchdown props. Those are the only ones that I had left with the touchdown props.
Yeah, I was looking at Garrett Wilson as well. He's gotten the targets from Zach Wilson, so maybe a little Wilson to Wilson success continues in this game. You take a look over the last, let's go back over the last 4 weeks. 3 out of the 4 weeks, he's had double-digit targets, 12, 13, and 14. The last 2 weeks, back-to-back weeks, he's put together a 100 receiving yard game and also 90 against the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's almost like this Eagles and the Chargers defensive strengths and weaknesses are very similar because both teams are very good within the rush defense and they're porous in the secondary. So I think the targets are definitely going to be there for Garrett Wilson in this game. If you want to look at his receptions, it's heavily juiced. It's 4.5 at minus 166. I did see a book that had it at 5.5 around plus 105. So if you want to look at it that way, and I don't think it hit his longest completion either to go over. I'm trying to find that number. Longest completion.
Garrett Wilson.
Longest reception. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Longest reception for Garrett Wilson.
I'm looking through right now.
23.5 is what I see.
Yeah, I see 22.5, but it's juiced, but it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, so over the last 4 weeks, he's had long receptions of 29, 33, 32, 14, and 29. So, yeah, I'm really looking at the Wilson and Wilson connection in this game. All right, Lonte, before we get over to our touchdown prop bets for this Monday Night Football game, let me tell everyone about Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for player props, game lines, and parlays. Get Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bowl with circle stats and data, and enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Lonte, let's get into our touchdown score prop bets for this game. I know Andrew Robb, the underdog fantasy god, was in there asking about Quentin Johnson in this game. But I'll let you lead it off here, man. What are you thinking about touchdown prop bets?
Yeah, man. I like you want to do both anytime and first
Yeah.
in
Let it
the same
rip.
segment? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure I differentiate the
So
price.
let's do first, and then we'll go do it anytime.
Okay, first I'm gonna go with. Let me make sure I got my numbers right. I'm gonna go with Brees Hall. I think Brees Hall 6-1. If you see anything different, you let me know.
Yeah.
I see 6-1 for Brees Hall. I like that a lot. I think that they'll have to implement him more in the passing game as well, to the
Yeah.
short pass game, just to be an extension of the run game in case they can't get it going. So I think Brees
Mm-hmm.
Hall will see a lot of work this week. And I'm also going to go with Quentin Johnson, 15-1. We mentioned that in the chat as well. I like him for anytime touchdown as well. And I'm going to go with Josh Kelly. I think you can find him at like 18, 19-1. Once
I
he
see
gets that,
22-1.
oh, even better.
Yeah.
So my thinking behind Josh Kelly is that he's been getting, a lot of work. And obviously, Eckler's not 100%, so I'm not sure if they're going to ramp Eckler up this week as well. But he's been getting solid carries and getting gains. I think he's gaining about, 3.5, 4 yards per carry. Once they get in that goal line situation, they like to keep him and Eckler on the field. They like to put Eckler in the slot and maybe motion him in from the backfield out to the slot. So I think Josh Kelly has a nice shot once they get inside that red zone to maybe score a touchdown. So I like him first touchdown score as well. So that's four. Is that four guys? So I got Quentin Johnston, Josh Kelly, Brees Hall.
Brees Hall.
Okay, so three guys. Yeah, that's my three that I
Yeah,
like.
3. Yeah, I don't hate that. I agree with you about Brees Hall 6-1. Again, that's a guy that can get it done not only on the ground but also obviously through the air. And again, if you tend to kind of look at his numbers, he's been involved in the passing game
Yeah, definitely.
for this Jets team over the last weeks. He's had 4 straight weeks, at least 3 targets, but in back-to-back weeks, he's had 14 total targets, 11 receptions, which he's turned into 130 receiving yards. He's also had 3 total touchdowns. Over the last 3 weeks. 2 have been rushing touchdowns, which was against the Eagles and the Denver Broncos. And then last week he had a receiving touchdown for the Jets against the Giants. So I'm with you on Brees Hall. He's also at plus money at plus 115 for any time touchdown. I don't hate that. I've been on the Joshua Palmer train for whatever reason, 17-1 for him to
I like
be.
Josh Palmer though, man. I like Josh Palmer.
Yeah, 17-1 for first touchdown. Anytime touchdown score, he's at plus 350. And then I think, you know what, let's throw in Zach Wilson. I mean, you said you like his rushing
Yeah,
yards.
I do.
I think there's a possibility that if they get down, within the 10-yard line or 5-yard line, and needs to scramble, use his legs to find the end zone. Maybe it's first touchdown here, 28-1, and then he's also 6-1 for anytime touchdown as well. So I'll give those out as my first touchdown and anytime touchdown scores. You have any more for anytime touchdown?
Anytime touchdown. Not really. I was gonna add. Let me find the number. I was gonna go Quentin Johnson both ways as far
Yeah.
as anytime and first. On his anytime, he is around like 350.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure 350, 340 is the number that I see. I'm also going to add another one that I like for first touchdown scorer, which was Josh Kelly.
Okay.
475. I'm pretty sure you can find a 5-1 out there sometimes.
Mhm.
Out there somewhere. And I'm gonna add, man. We can't. Usually we give out a tight end. I'm gonna add Tyler Conklin anytime touchdown score, 475.
All right, all right. Yeah, we've me and Lonte, we've been all over the tight ends
Yeah,
thus
man,
far this
got to.
season. When we're either doing our Monday night football show or we're doing our pregame show. So a reminder about our week NFL Week 9 pregame show. We're usually live 10 a.m. Eastern time. Just going through every single game, giving out our player props, giving out our touchdown parlays as well. We've been getting pretty close on those touchdown parlays. I'm
We're
sure
gonna
we'll
get one
cash
this
one
week. This week,
before the
I got
season.
some good ones
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah, so join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on the NFL Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. And then right after we're done, the Fantasy Lounge, the Fantasy guys, they'll get you all your questions answered about guys to start and sit, which guys you should be having in your lineup for sure, and which guys you should be sitting. And they'll answer all your questions as well when it goes for fantasy. And then obviously the big show with Sean and Ryan that kicks off around 12 p.m. Eastern time. So catch us for all our pregame shows happening on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. All right, so that is our first touchdown and anytime touchdown scores. Went through our prop bets. We did the side total as well. So it's one order of business left here, Lonte. Let's get into our best bets for this Monday night football game. I'll let you lead it off.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with a player prop because, like I said, even though I like the Chargers, this number, the hook is kind of throwing me off, so I don't want to give that out as a bit. I'm gonna go with my man Quentin Johnston over his receiving yard. Wait, I don't even see him listed. Oh shit. Okay, so I got to pivot.
For Quinn Johnson,
Receiving
let me
yards.
see.
Do you see Quentin Johnston for receiving yards?
Let me go
I didn't see him.
to the site that I use that shows me all the books that have his numbers because yesterday I was doing the propcast with Chris and we were giving out our player props for
Mm,
the Sunday games and there's always some conflicting numbers or numbers that you can
right.
take advantage of
Yeah. Oh yeah.
with
Yeah, especially
some
early in the
books
week.
that I've
Yeah.
yeah. But I do not see it right now for
Yeah,
Quentin
it's okay.
Johnson. I only see his touchdown prop bets.
Yeah, it's all good. I'll pivot. So I'll go with Brees Hall over. What did I see? I see 80 and a half at DraftKings, 80 and a half at BetMGM, Bet 365. So it's plenty of 80 and a half out here. Rushing and receiving yards. We both mentioned it. Think he's going to be a heavy dose of Brees Hall in the passing and the rush game. So I think that he's going to be implemented a lot. Dalvin's not getting a lot of the touches. Michael Carter's not getting a lot of touches. I think it'll be a big Brees Hall game, and you want to keep the Chargers guessing. You want to keep that pass rush limited. So I think they'll split out Brees Hall a lot in the slot, have him go one-on-one with a linebacker. So give me 80 over 80 and a half rushing and receiving for my lock for Brees Hall. For my dog, I'm going with something simple, man. I'm going with Justin Herbert over pass touchdowns 1.5. I mean, it seems too easy, which is not a good thing when you're betting these things, especially at plus money. But I do like that he's going to have a load of attempts. He's had 70. He's had 107 pass attempts his last 3 games.
Mhm.
21 completions, 17 completions, 22 completions. He's had 2+ touchdowns in 2 of his last 3 games. If you want to dial it back to the beginning of the season, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4. In 4 of his 7 games, he's had 2+ touchdowns. So I think the Jets defense is the secondary is a strength, but I think once they get in the red zone, kind of those little pop passes to Keenan Allen over the middle, even to Eckler on the screen passes, I think we can get in the end zone twice with that.
All right. All right. For my lock, I'm gonna go with the give me the Jets, man. Plus 3.5 home dog. I just think I can't trust the Chargers on the road, especially with Justin Herbert. Historically, I think I went back about 3 to 4 seasons, and as a road favorite, they just have not been covering this number or covering the spread as road favorites. I think it was something in the realm of 57 to 58% where they were not covering. So they were only covering about 40% of their games, 40 to 42% of their games where they were a road favorite of the past several seasons. So I've liked what I've seen from the Jets over the last 3 weeks. I know again It's been maybe against some subpar opponents. Last week they got fortunate against the Giants. I think that a win against the Eagles was telling. They went into the Mile High City in altitude and got a 31-21 victory there. So I think that Zach Wilson is getting more confidence. We've seen the clips of his teammates encouraging him, and just really not turning their back on him like they were last season or some of the players. But I think Robert Saleh will have this defense ready to go. I think the offense will be able to produce enough points in this game. Where again, like I mentioned, I think that if the Jets score in between from 17 to 21 points in this game, they score 3 touchdowns this game, I think they're winning this game. So I'll take the Jets plus 3.5. Again, shop around for the best number because there is a book right now I see that has this number sorry, that's the wrong game. So consensus right now is 3.5. I really like your call about the Brees Hall receiving yards, Lonte. I was trying to find an alt receiving yards line for him. DraftKings didn't have it, but let me see if there's another book here that may have it. Let's
DK
see.
usually has a lot of the props. They're pretty much. I think they're the market leader in putting out props earlier in the week.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because they didn't have it for Brees Hall. So, I guess for my dog, let me see if there's an alt passing yards number for Zach Wilson, because I feel like, again, like I mentioned, we were handicapping this game, that if they're going to have success in this game, it's going to have to be on the shoulders of Zach Wilson. So if you want to ladder this up, 225 plus passing yards for Zach Wilson is at plus 115, 250 plus passing yards at plus 225. And if you really want to get spicy, 275 or more is at plus 475 for Zach Wilson. So I'll throw that out. I really do like his completions and his attempts to go over as well. So I'm high on Zach Wilson. No, I'm not high this morning on Saturday talking about Zach Wilson having a huge MVP performance, but I think this is an opportunity where I think that Zach Wilson can command this offense and have some success against his Chargers pass defense. All right, Lonte, that's going to wrap it up for this Monday Night Football edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast. NFL Week 9. Last game will be the Jets and hosting the Chargers. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
That's about it, man. Hopefully, Chargers can pull it out.
Yeah, hopefully they pull it out by 3 points, and the worst of luck to you. But no, we'll be back again. Like I mentioned, the pregame show tomorrow happening on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. The best show leads it off with myself and Lonte with our player props, our touchdown prop bets, and also we'll get you guys caught up on all the injury news that are happening around the league, followed by the Fantasy Lounge, all your fantasy football questions for week 9. And then, like I mentioned, the big show with Sean and Ryan that kicks off at 12 o'clock Eastern time to get your first half parlays and all of your degen stuff and last minute bets that the guys are putting in. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And we'll be back next week for the Monday Night Football game. And as we usually do, we'll take a peek on who it is going to be.
Oh yeah, I meant to have that ready, but
next week for Monday Night
Denver
Football.
Buffalo.
God, I hope it's an exciting matchup.
Denver Buffalo.
Let's see. What do we got next week? Meh. All right. Yeah, we'll take it. All right, we'll take it. So Denver Broncos and the
Denver's on a roll, man.
Next week
Denver's on
Monday Night Football. Hey, man, maybe they're turning it around, or maybe some Zach Wilson. Russell Wilson has figured it out. Make sure to follow Lonte on Twitter /X at XXLonteXX. You can follow me on Twitter /X at SportsNerd824. More importantly, make sure to subscribe to the NFL Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. If you haven't already, leave us a rating and review. It is much appreciated. All right, we'll talk to you guys on Sunday morning if you join us. If not, we'll talk to you next week on Monday. Till then, good luck with your bets. Let's break these books off and let it ride.